So how have you been?
Well, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. It's different time of day for me. It's the evening, so I've done my day today. I'm done.
I've just started. I've got my coffee. I lied. I couldn't do wine. I'm too tired. So
I was going to do tea, and I was like, it is way too hot for tea. That's just stupid.
right. You guys are really, really hot.
Yeah, we had a heat wave yesterday. I melted.
Is it better? Better today?
It's a little bit better, yeah. It's going to rain. I can't wait.
Good. We've been in a heat wave too, but I don't think it's anything quite like you.
In Canada, does it get really hot? Because I know it gets really cold.
It can, but usually summers aren't that bad. You guys use Celsius, right? You guys.
What, in the UK?
Yeah.
We have all the weather every day,
okay. Right?
All in one day. Just too much weather at the moment. Way too much weather.
Yeah, it's generally pretty mild here, but we go up to maybe like the 30s, and it's way too hot for me. So.
Yeah, I think we had 36 yesterday.
That's like our record high. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit hot for England.
Do you guys have any air conditioning at all? No.
No, we didn't even have a fan. We were like looking around the shop, sweating, looking for a fan, and we were like, we just need a fan. Let's buy this one, and we carried it home and then put it on and sat in front of it as if it's like our shrine to our god.
You guys were not ready. We got a portable AC this year in my house because of my dog, because of my husky. Because last summer she was way too hot. I felt terrible, so we installed one. Mostly for
Huskies are hairy, aren't they?
Yeah, they have a double coat.
Hairy dogs.
Yeah. So in the summer she suffers. So now she lays right in front of it. She's happy and it's all good.
Are you allowed to?
I was going to say, aren't they like North Pole dogs? Like they live in the North Pole.
Yeah, pretty. They are. So in the winter she's very happy.
Are you allowed to shave her, or is that cruel?
That won't help because the fur is also, it helps against the heat as well, against the sun. If you shave the husky, then the sun will just burn them. Okay. Yeah.
Sounds awful. Like, it's hard for dogs, isn't it? Because they've got all that hair, it's all that shit on them. They can't speak English. That's hard, right? And they're not allowed to eat anything that they really want.
That's true.
Bit of a shit life for a dog sometimes.
It is, yeah. We're out on a walk and I'm constantly yelling at her, don't eat that, drop it. So.
That's awful. And they're always hungry as well.
Not mine, actually. She has to have a whole day of exercise before she'll eat anything.
Oh, really? That's a good one.
Oh, yeah. The bowl is always full, but she won't eat it until she's had like 3 walks, and then she'll finally eat.
Brilliant.
Weight Watcher.
Does she like walking?
Yeah, too much.
Does she get really excited?
Yes. As soon as I start putting like my socks on, she's like, all right, let's go. And you know, huskies, they talk. So she goes, ooh.
That's what I'm like when my partner gets home from work. I'm like, let's go for a walk. Let's go for a walk. As soon as he's got changed, I'm like, let's go out. Let's go for a walk. That's me.
Yeah, you've been working out, eh?
Yeah, I have. It's been all right, you know. It's been good for me.
Yeah.
How's your health?
Yeah, it's getting better.
Good.
I actually had an appointment today and found out there's nothing wrong with my lungs. So that's really good because I was really worried about it because I had to have an X-ray and all that stuff. And they were talking about like lung damage and COPD and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
And I'm all right. Good. I'm just really unhealthy. And I was like, well, I can keep going to the gym. And then the next step is not drinking as much beer. So just slowly.
I have to do that too.
Are you giving up chips
too? In the summer. Beer and chips. Oh, I had chips for a while. They're naughty.
Okay.
Really naughty. Yeah, I've got a new thing now. Prawn crackers and seaweed. Yeah, they're good.
I love both of those things.
What's a prawn cracker?
Put them together.
Prawn, right?
Prawn cracker, yeah.
Prawn.
Put the seaweed in it and you're eating it like a boat.
Not porn, Benjamin.
Okay.
Like that.
It's
very crunchy.
Yeah.
I reckon the neighbours can hear me eating them. I take my hearing aid out. Like, don't want to hear that shit. No way.
I could eat both those things all day. Totally understand.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah.
Have you had those, Benjamin? You don't like it when people call you Ben, do you?
Shrimp. I guess that's kind of like shrimp crackers or shrimp puffs or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's basically pork rinds, but shrimp rinds, kind of
Similar. Yeah.
really like puffed, and I
Pretty
think I
much.
maybe had them once.
I get them
Did you
from
have it on
7-Eleven
its
all the
own?
time.
Did you just eat one on its own?
I guess so. I can't remember.
That's why you don't like them.
Well, I didn't say I didn't like them, but I guess I can.
You shouldn't have ate them like that. That's your fault.
Okay.
Yeah, totally wrong.
I'll go out and I'll get some seaweed and porn crackers, and then give it a good go.
Not porn crackers.
Prawn crackers. Prawn crackers.
He can get himself in trouble again.
Me?
Again,
No.
yeah.
Wait.
Are you?
Who got in trouble? I got.
3 minutes.
Wait. Okay. You guys, what latest trouble you've been in? You both get in trouble, don't you?
I don't get in
I
trouble.
don't get it. No, I don't get into trouble.
No,
What are
I'm
you
good
talking
as
about?
gold.
Are you? No.
I don't get in trouble.
No.
I don't do it. I don't do anything.
You're being
Okay.
sarcastic.
No, I don't. I can't remember last time I got in trouble.
Oh.
I got in a little bit of trouble on Facebook a little while ago because I said that the left are going mental, and then a few people said to me, "It's not the left," and that I was like, "Well, I got cancelled from the left, not from the right." So that went on, but it wasn't big trouble.
So it was just a dust up.
That's the juiciest gossip I've got on trouble
Okay.
with me. Okay, I'm good as gold.
You get launched into persecution times frequently.
Do
It
you?
seems.
On Twitter.
Jeez, how
Yeah.
have I missed this?
Oh yeah, but not like from like our side. Like from the trans rights activists.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm in trouble with them all the time.
Oh yeah, of course.
I
But
thought
yeah,
you meant with our side.
no,
sorry.
usually I'm pretty good. Yeah. Well, I am careful with our side too. But no, I keep like getting into drama with like the trans rights activists and stuff, which is fun. Sometimes
I don't bother. And then every now and again, just when I'm coming out of the gym, I see something and I go, right, that's it. I'm going to tell them once and for all. And I end up in this argument. And by about 8 comments in, I think, do you know what? That was a waste of my time.
yeah.
It was a total waste of my time. So I don't bother most of the time unless it's either just before I go to the gym and then I go to the gym and I have like a mega rage cardio session, or it's just after I get out of the gym and I'm really pumped up and I'm like, right, I'm going to tell them that you can't change your sex and that's it. It never works. It never
No,
works.
it doesn't work. No, I noticed that I get most of my Twitter drama comes when I'm like PMSing. I'm like all riled up and I just want to get into fights. And I'll just say something really inflammatory and it blows up. And yeah.
Where do you get it? Do you get it on Twitter? Because I get it on Instagram. It's Instagram and it's usually teenagers.
On Twitter for me, that's where my biggest presence is. Yeah.
I block them on Twitter. I block them straight away. As soon as I see the anime profile picture, I'm like, block. Don't need to hear your shit today.
I usually mute just so I'm not like lured into like an argument, because that's what'll get you. Like, I don't know how I've lasted this long without getting banned, but I think it's because I don't really do back and forth. You know, they'll rage at me and then I just say, oh, mute. Just mostly so I'm not tempted. I don't really care that what they're saying. I just don't want to be tempted to get pulled in and
See,
say
I
something
didn't
about
know.
it.
I didn't know you could mute, and I was blocking. I've been blocking since I started Twitter, and every now and again I block someone, and then they go on like an all-day rant on their Twitter page about how I've blocked them because I haven't got a rebuttal, I've got no argument, I'm a coward, blah blah blah, and I'm just like, just go outside, have a cup of tea, it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
Yeah, and they're so quick to block too. Like, it's ridiculous. I need to do it more. There was the one time I got like totally inundated because Keffels was Ray showing me. Remember?
No, could you
Benjamin
tell that
reached out to
story?
me.
Yeah.
I made a tweet. I forget what it was about. It was like my biggest tweet I ever did. It was just like, something like the trans rights activists are really rolling back everything we've done, like all the goodwill we've built up and everything, something to that effect. And it got
And
quite a
by
lot of
we, you
attention.
mean the LGB,
Yeah,
etc.
kind of like goodwill that like the gay community had, I guess. And that got pretty big. A lot of big accounts tried to sort of quote tweet me, whatever, it wasn't a big deal. Like I had Katie Montgomery and that ACLU lawyer
Chase Stringio. Oh, Case.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that was all
strange.
fine. That was all fine. And then Keffels got wind of it and like did the little stupid ratio, you know.
Is that
so
what's a stupid ratio? Is that a YouTube thing?
Well, because a ratio is supposed to be, what is a ratio supposed to be? If you have like way more comments and quote tweets.
Oh, ratio. Like, okay, yeah, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, because people are angry at you. But Keffels comes along and tries to get more likes than your original post, which is like whatever. So then I just got flooded with things, and that wasn't really a problem, and I wasn't blocking, but I had a friend reach out to me like, you have to start blocking because they're going to mass report you. Like, that's the problem, really. And if Twitter gets enough reports, you're going to. So I'm like, fine. So that's when I started just kind of blocking everyone.
That's pretty much why I do it.
Yeah, otherwise I don't care. They can say what they want. But I was a bit scared. I was like, oh no, I actually might get mad. My tweet wasn't bad. So thankfully nothing happened. But
what was your tweet?
Well, it was just the thing about the goodwill that the trans rights activists are really rolling back a lot of the goodwill we've garnered. And I think that's what it was. I can't quite remember. It got up to like 15,000 likes or something.
That's amazing.
That's what it was. Yeah. And so then I was like, for a whole weekend, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get banned. But nothing. So yeah, I feel like I have some Twitter guardian angel or something because I've never been suspended or anything.
Well, it's really important not to reply. The replies, yes. the replies are what get you targeted harassment.
Yeah, they're baiting you.
Yeah, they're baiting you.
Yeah, they bait you.
Yeah. So that you can misgender them or something, and then they've got you. So,
but they keep misgendering me.
Yeah, the baiting goes both ways, right? I mean,
yeah,
we bait them.
Do you reckon?
You bait them. I bait everybody. I'm just the master bait.
Yeah, you do. You compliment people.
Yeah.
Complimenting bastard.
Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Look I love your hats. Your skin is great, both of you.
You're very handsome, Benjamin.
Oh, thank you.
In your hat.
You have an exquisite soul. There you go.
You both have beautiful souls.
You guys are like diamonds in the rough. Seriously.
In the rough?
You're like sirens off the side of my skiff, luring me.
Sirens are the ones that kill people, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're really attractive.
Out and then kill them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay then, cool.
Exactly.
I'll settle for that.
I'll take it.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe that's acceptable. Maybe you won't get into trouble for that.
It's fine as long as I end up dead at the end. No harm, no foul, right? Or something.
Do you mean dead on the internet or dead in real life?
No, just like reputation death, you know.
Oh, okay.
Dark night of the persona.
That's pretty cool these days.
Is it?
I hear it's a good thing to get cancelled now by everybody. The more people you get cancelled by, the better you are.
I think so. As long as you still have access. It's one thing to be canceled, it's another thing to be banned. So, right.
That's true.
So what's the big? What's the big issue you guys want to hash out?
I mean, me and you hash it out.
Well, all three of us.
Like I've never wanted to hash anything out with you.
Well, no, I mean not an issue between us, but like the issue in the world or current events.
I don't know.
What did you think? What did you think of the Macy Gray thing?
I
know that was so 1990s now on the internet world, but
okay,
a long time ago.
Macy Gray is a singer, or was a singer, and she stood up on Piers Morgan's show about the fact that you can't change your body, and a woman is a woman. A woman's not just a feeling. And then she was invited back onto ABC or Good Morning America, and she then said that woman is actually a vibe. Like you do, woman's just a vibe.
Yep.
Everything's
you can catch that vibe.
The interesting thing from my point of view was that, well, there's an interesting kind of like butting of heads between the conservatives and the rad femmes. So the rad femmes have been having this argument with the trans rights activists for a long time. The conservative men kind of come to the field a little later on down the line, but they come in with their bravado and their chauvinism. And when they both entered, there's a lot of clashing, a lot of tension between the conservatives, and they're men and women conservatives, but mostly the TERFs, radfems are mostly women. So I think it's interesting to watch that tension go on, because it seems like to a certain extent they do have the same values, but they diverge at a certain point, and trying to figure out where that divergence is.
I know where it is. Okay. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's a good joke. I like it. Basically, the conservatives have got a point, haven't they? Because they know what women are, they know what men are. And radical feminists know what women are and know what men are. And that might be the problem, because the conservative men that speak up get a lot of, he's a man! He's a man! Look at him! He's a man! Why is he speaking? That.
They do get a lot
Okay,
of
that's
that.
just a joke. Not all of them do it. Not all radfems, okay? Just like not all men. Don't say that.
Oh, you're gonna get in trouble. No, it's true though. When I saw
Are we filming? Are we filming now?
Yeah, we're filming.
Oh, all right then, cool. I'll be on good behaviour.
Don't.
it's already too late.
Yeah, don't.
Oh shit!
Please.
Yeah, I've got the bad hat on.
This is not a good. I don't
Now
want
I'm
good
gonna
behavior.
be bad.
Oh. Oh wow.
Well, no,
I think it
I have
works
to
for
say,
me.
I agree. I think conservative men are getting a lot of just like, you can't talk, because, I mean, they really put their foot in it sometimes. They do.
Oh, they definitely do.
Yeah, like
I mean,
when like the guy that came along and said, "Oh, you gotta take a back seat," and I don't even know who that was. I was like,
oh, when
Perfect.
somebody said to
yeah,
JK
JKR.
Rowling,
Yeah.
you're out of your depths with this one, little lady.
Yes.
Let the men handle it. We're here now.
stand back. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Oh, somebody's still going to screenshot me doing that, aren't they? That's not what I meant, guys.
I already have.
Not what I meant.
I just did. Yeah,
I should have done that instead. That's not what I meant.
I took another
Okay.
one.
Maybe we
Shit.
are the baddies.
Maybe we are the bad. Eva,
Oh my god!
I saw that.
But did you
Fucking hell.
screenshot it?
No, because my arm's not long enough. And I've done it again. I didn't mean to.
Do it again.
No way. And you know what the worst thing is? I have to go like, I'm not doing it again, but I have to go like that and then go like that to turn my watch on. But when I do it, my arm's out and it looks really bad.
It's bad optics.
Bad optics all around. I'm going to write to Apple about that shit.
Should.
Persecuting the Jews, just trying to check the time.
Oh
It's
my
a bad
god!
look.
Exactly.
It's a bad look. It's a bad look.
Terrible.
But it is interesting, just trying to figure out, and that's why I continue to get in trouble, because I'm trying to insert some.
Is it because you're a man?
It's not because I'm a man, it's because I don't toe a
Mostly.
line, and I play with the line. I don't toe a line. I don't necessarily cross a line, but I play with the line.
You play with boundaries.
I play with boundaries in a
the
social
compliments.
milieu specifically. Because I see that people have very strong opinions, and that if you trigger their opinions, they go haywire. But they do that whether they're TRAs or TRFs or the conservatives. Everybody just gets triggered all the time. TERFs.
Yes.
But the
I don't know why
dynamic
that
between
tickled me.
what tickled you? TRFs.
The TRFs and the TRAs.
Yeah, they're just having everybody has
It's
boundaries.
not a good one.
Right?
Everyone.
But everybody's boundaries are quite a personal thing, though, aren't they? Really, because everybody's boundaries are going to be different. Like I've had this argument, or not argument. I've had this discussion with feminists before. Like for some of them, their boundary is that, for example, if a man identifies as a woman, their boundary is that they're not going to use pronouns. Like I won't do it. That's my boundary. But there are some women who will use preferred pronouns because they're okay with it and their boundary's not on that line. So it's quite personal, and it's up to you to make your own mind up on boundaries. As an adult, that is. If you're not an adult, then somebody else needs to make your boundaries for you. Somebody responsible who's obviously related to you, and preferably your parent. Let's not go there.
Or the government.
Or the government. The government can set the boundaries for you as well. Tell you what to do.
That's true.
All three of our governments take different, have different boundaries too.
Mine has none. So.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. Aren't you guys getting?
I mean, but you've got like an ultra oppressed black president, right?
Me? Wait.
No, Canada.
Trudeau? Oh yeah,
Canada?
yeah, Trudeau.
Oh, yes, yes. He's our first black prime minister.
Prime Minister of colour.
Oh my God, I
On
can't. Don't
occasion.
even get me started on Trudeau. I can't. I
shouldn't be laughing. Have you seen the state of the UK? I should not be laughing at Canada.
I have, but you guys are like further ahead with this. Like, it's actually a political discussion. The gender stuff, I mean.
Almost.
We're like 5 years away at the least from being able to have that be like a election issue or like, you know, so I'm looking around and I'm kind of jealous because we're not there.
Does it make you feel optimistic though?
Yeah. I think by the time the next election rolls around, it might be an issue. It's just that currently I don't think we're going to have one for a while. And until then, I don't think anything's going to change in regards to like what we're doing medically to kids or just like men and women's prisons. I don't think that's going to change for like at least 5 more years. But after that, hopefully. So it does give me some hope. At least we have time to build a resistance.
Yeah, you've got time to organize, and that's a good thing.
It is, yeah. And we are. So that's really good.
Also, the media in Canada versus the UK versus the US is different on this issue. It doesn't seem like Canada will report on it negatively at all. Maybe every once in a while, a Barbara Kay article will get published, or Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, she's the only one. I got to meet her, which was amazing. So
really,
that was so cool. Yeah. And then she made right away, she was like, oh my God, I retweet you all the time. I was like, you're Barbara Kay. I'm the one who's excited. It was really, really awesome. No, she's the only one who writes anything about this. So that's really great to have her. But the rest of the media, you know, they won't print anything critical at all. Especially not CBC because they're federally funded. So yeah, absolutely not. They do hit pieces on COSBAR on our Canadian women's sex-based rights.
Really?
Yeah, they're always just like slandering them, and they'll have like
crazy.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's just so they really like they'll say things like that. COSBAR is against like housing rights for trans people and things like that. For some reason, they really harp on that. And it's like, no, that's not what any of this is about. Like,
yeah, somebody said that to me on Instagram, something about how like I'm against trans rights, and somebody said something along the lines of, well, what rights do trans people not have? And they were like, they can't buy a house. And I was this close to writing, welcome to Britain. Most people can't buy a house. Working class, you can't afford a house. Welcome to the world of me, you, and everybody else. You're not special.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, exact same deal. They can't buy a house.
Yeah, I don't get why housing is a sticking line. That's such a random, odd thing. But
I mean, is it something to do with the documents and lying about who you are on the documents?
Okay, for a mortgage.
I was
or something
wondering
like that.
I was wondering if it's something to do with that, or even to rent, because you do have to say who you are. But then
check,
I think maybe the argument is that they're being rejected for housing because they're trans. But I can speak from experience. You get rejected everywhere, regardless of whether you're trans or not. I mean, it's hard to get housing. It's hard to get anything
for
most people.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a male lesbian, it's really hard to convince a womb to house you, right? They're trying to open up that right.
That's one way of putting it.
Right? Yeah. That's a trans right. With regard to housing, kind of. I'm trying to stretch it, but I just don't understand rights discourse. It just seems so inflated, and it's like it just seems the fundamental value of what a right is. Does the state give you a right? Does the state enforce your right? Or do you have like some sort of natural right that the state defends from others encroaching on?
What are human rights? Look, I was thinking about that. Who decided that there's something called human rights and that everybody should have it? And how did they come to the conclusions of what rights are actually human rights? Because in the trans argument, human rights can extend to things like voluntary cosmetic surgery for free.
Transitioning children, yeah.
Enforcing,
right? Is that a human right?
silencing everybody else that doesn't agree with you or doesn't go along with your language, too.
Yeah. Yeah, they've made that out to be a human right for sure.
Yeah.
And they don't even have the discussion about what is a human right. But just it's as long as you say it, then you can push it, and nobody else can push back against you.
Well,
so.
But you have to say it at least 5 times.
At least 5 times. Yeah. Trans rights are human rights.
In the mirror. With blood.
Oh, really? Maybe that's what isn't happening. That's why it hasn't manifested yet. They keep on shouting it at Twitter, but not in front of a mirror with blood.
Do better. That's all you can do. Do better.
Clap.
Educate yourself.
Educate yourself. Do better.
Re-educate yourself. And keep re-educating yourself until you get it right, and then do better at all times. Forever, until you're dead.
Yep.
As an aside, I was on my porch with my partner. We were having cigarettes, and I was going to be up for jury duty, but then I called in, and they're like, "There's no jury duty for the next 2 weeks." I think they just kind of are just letting criminals criminalize the place because we're in Washington, and that's the nice thing to do. But she asked me, like, well, what we were trying to figure out what I would even be on jury duty for. Because they're so lenient with the laws and what it would be. And she brought up maybe it would be a crime against humanity that Washington. And I'm like, that doesn't happen. Washington State's not going to prosecute somebody for crimes against humanity. And then we're like, well, what is a crime against humanity? So I had to look up a crime against humanity. It's a legal term that specifically has to do with a state oppressing a group. That's a crime against humanity. So like an individual can commit a war crime, which would be like violating somebody's human rights, but it would have to be a state policy that makes it a crime against humanity. It's some sort of corporate sin, right? But
so
it is based on human rights.
An individual can't commit a crime against humanity. I can't commit a crime against humanity.
Unless you were part of.
If I was in America.
Well, if you were part of a government that did misgender people as policy, and you participated in that, you would be committing a war crime as a crime against humanity because you were a part of the policy.
Excellent. I'm never going to repeat that in front of TRAs.
Okay.
They'll just get ideas, wouldn't they? They'll just use it.
Don't give them ideas. No.
No, I won't.
It sounds ridiculous, but I can see that happening.
Yeah. Well, we've got obviously the Conservative candidates, and a lot of them are, well, I say a lot of them. One of them, I think, has backtracked on the trans women and women thing. And then there's another one called Kemi, who I really like.
Me too.
Yeah, I like her. She's talking about sort of like free speech. And I think her idea is to not make speech a hate crime. Mm-hmm. Maybe I've read that wrong, but I hope that that's her idea anyway. Maybe I'll tweet her and say, please, this should be what the Conservatives talk about. But I don't think speech should be a hate crime. And in a way, that government thing, if the government decides that speech is not a hate crime, then could the TRA say that the government is endorsing misgendering, which is a crime against their people, which is a war crime?
Or a crime against
humanity. So you get rid of it
humanity.
as a hate crime and you bring it back as a war crime.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
Well, they do. The rhetoric, at least, and when we speak about the rhetoric and I don't mean to lump. I would like to disaggregate who I'm talking about in order not to straw man or lump everybody into the same group. But there is a rhetoric that is afoot about existence, about denying people's existence, which is basically the same as a crime against humanity, right? Like to nullify somebody's existence. That's worse than death. That's like a living death, right?
Yeah.
But isn't that what people are attempting to do in some of the worst parts of cancer culture? They're trying to get you completely either scrubbed out on the internet where everybody lives nowadays, or to have you so smeared that you're not going to be nobody even wants to go near you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they try to totally deperson you. Like you can't.
Yeah, dehumanize. That's the word.
Dehumanize. Yeah.
Well, speaking of boundaries,
successfully dehumanized.
Where's the line for you guys where acceptable speech you wouldn't want in public? I guess Because I guess the really easy thing to do, what's happening in America on the right-ish or the centrist-ish side is the trying to separate sex education from the schools and saying that's not acceptable speech to teach children about anal sex and when they're 8 years old, right? So that's an easy one to say that that's not kind of allowed and stuff, and drawing like age limits on speech and stuff. But I'm sure that you both have boundaries, probably particular to your culture, of what kind of speach you
Shall I go
wouldn't
first?
mind being
Yeah,
banned.
yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, in the UK, I think I don't think we have free speech, like absolutism.
Yeah, same here.
But we do have laws against things like defamation, incitement to violence, libel, slander, that sort of thing. And I agree with those laws. I think that there should be a line drawn on things that are actively, I don't want to use the word harmful, but defamation is harmful. That is ruining somebody. And with the internet now, that's even more powerful than it's ever been. So I agree with having laws against that have consequences. I hate that word as well. Consequences for it. But I hate it when people say free speech comes with consequences, because what they mean is you need to speak how I want you to speak, or I'm going to seek to punish you in some way. And that's not how it should be. It shouldn't be dependent on an individual or one group. The government have that power, but we vote them in, and we vote them in based on what their policies are supposed to be, even though it don't always go that way, does it? But in theory, they have that power to have the laws changed, and we vote them in. So technically, we all get a say in some sort of way, even though that doesn't really work in real life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I did say last year I was talking to Harry Miller, and he said he's a free speech absolutist, and I was like, I like the sound of that. Maybe I'm a free speech absolutist. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, that means that I am against saying that it's wrong to defame me. And I think it is wrong to defame me. So technically, am I a free speech absolutist? I don't think I am. It's a tricky one. I really go back and forth with free speech, because I think anybody should be able to say anything they like. At the same time, when you're doing things that are actually inciting violence, and I don't just mean talking truth about science, I mean actual violence, incitement, telling people to beat people up and stuff like that, I do think that's wrong, and I do think there should be a punishment for it. If anything, just to deter people from doing it, really.
I think I mostly agree with you. I would have said, like, ideologically, I would be a free speech absolutist, just if that in a perfect society where people didn't call for killing other people. But I'm okay with there being laws. Like, I think Canada is way too far gone. Like, we don't have any free speech at all. Like, I mean, not to be hyperbolic, we do. But you're right. Like, I think ideally people can say what they want, and especially just about reality and biology and sex. But in terms of things like inciting violence and defamation, I think it's all right if we've got laws against that stuff. So that's kind of where I fall too.
I definitely don't agree with hate speech laws, because I think these hate speech laws are ridiculous, because it depends on, as far as I'm aware, I think it depends on the victim to decide whether it was hate speech. Well, of course, the victim is going to say that was intended as hate speech. So there's no way to exonerate yourself in that situation. So I think that's not a good thing, because you can't prove that you weren't being hateful when you said that humans can't change sex, because that is such a neutral fact that if somebody decides it's hateful, how do you prove it's not?
Well, we have a new bylaw in my city. I don't know too much about this, but it's like to do with street harassment. But the definition is so broad that it could just be people saying like what you don't like. Like back in March, we did a little protest on the street against men and women's prisons. We don't have a prison here, so we just went like on the street and we just had signs and stuff. I'm worried that if we tried to do that again, if someone comes along and says, well, this offends me, I feel like I'm being harassed, then we would get in trouble for that.
Street harassment? Is that like the street tacos of vile hatred or something?
I don't know. Like, I guess it was put in intended to stop, harassment, like sexual harassment, but I think it could be interpreted as like, just you're saying things I don't like, you have a sign that I don't like. So I'd be worried to do that again, because we had signs that were like, no men in women's prisons and things like that. So
that's crazy. See, this is where hate laws come in and ruin everything, because with especially with the hate crimes in the UK, how do you prove that something had malicious intent if it's a neutral statement?
Yeah. Well, I just read a story about some some trans woman, was changing at their job. Did you see this? And he had his penis out and stuff, and he won the lawsuit or whatever. Because the manager said, "Do you always not wear underwear or something?" And it left him crying and shaking. And I was shocked to see that. I was like, "Damn, I thought you guys were doing better." Yeah.
In the UK.
Yeah, I saw that. I shared it on Instagram. I had so many people in my inbox going, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Yep, this is how it is."
Could you just explain the story one more time? So a trans-identified male was changing in the women's restroom, and his or her or their manager or boss made comments about the appropriateness or inappropriateness of that, or made inappropriate comments about his junk, their junk.
Yeah, I'm not too sure of the story if you know more, Birdie, but he was an employee at this place and would routinely change in the women's changing room, just with no underwear. And so the women were getting really uncomfortable and made some comments. And then, he took, maybe she'll find more.
Was this in the UK, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A male and fully intact NHS worker, so that was in a hospital, who identifies like that, I quite like that, as a woman, and was confronted by a boss for being naked from the waist down in a changing room in front of women. This person has won a discrimination case after being upset by the confrontation. So I'm guessing the boss said something about being a man naked in front of the women, maybe you're making the women uncomfortable. And then this person's just gone full on PTSD on it and claimed.
He was crying and shaking from the comments. That's the worst. Crying and shaking. Yeah.
Okay, is nudity a form of speech or hate speech then? Or self-expression? Right? I mean, if right, there's somehow the law decided that it was not meaningful for a male to show or to display their genitals in front of women who are uncomfortable for that.
Well, that's because it's female genitals, Benjamin.
Oh, okay, it's intact.
Times.
Distended.
Female penis.
Okay.
Yeah, he won because the manager wouldn't have asked a cis woman that. So that's how come this guy won.
Oh.
Because
it's changing room, right? So
do women just trot it out?
Cis women.
No.
I've never seen a woman naked in changing rooms.
Every single
it's just
time.
kind of an unspoken thing. We all turn our backs to each other, and everybody gets changed and talks, and it's just unspoken. It's even been like when I was younger. I just didn't. Nobody told me those were the rules. It just happened. It's just what women do. I don't know what men do. I imagine they wave their dicks around a bit and go, "Way!"
Probably.
And the ones with little ones go, "Way!" Well,
you have to do it
like that, and then they all get a ruler out and measure it, and they write it on the wall, and whoever's got the biggest one gets a free pint. That's been your experience?
Pretty close to the truth. Pretty close to the truth. Every once in a while, it devolves into some pretty violent towel snapping, but we suppress that and keep that to ourselves. Okay,
That's horrible.
Is catcalling protected speech? Would you want laws against catcalling?
No, I'll tell you why. I thought it got a bit ridiculous, and I'm probably going to get some stick for this. I thought it got a bit ridiculous when people were saying catcalling is sexual harassment, because I think you're undermining the category of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
I think catcalling can be fairly innocent. I think it's from a culture that's kind of dying out now a little bit, but it's mainly like a working class builder, scaffolder that will do that, and it's most of the time it don't really mean anything, and there's always the option of telling him to fuck off, and all his mates will laugh at him and take the piss out of him for the rest of the week. And there's that, so you could always shame them. Don't need the law for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
I think there's a discussion to be had actually around people communicating better. Do you think people are communicating worse, and that's why we're getting into these situations where we have to restrict all the different types of speech and categorize it into how this could upset somebody's feelings?
Yeah, I think people expect other people to be mind readers in a way, and then you're not, and you're just a hateful bigot because you didn't know this person's pronouns or that they don't.
Yeah, I mean, look at my haircut. Do you not know how to address me by now? No, I'm wearing the uniform.
We're non-binary.
Yeah, you guys are NBs.
Exactly.
Honorary NBs.
Well, they keep calling me that. They keep calling me trans or.
Okay, so
like this one.
Eva, can you explain that, like this phenomena, like they're trying to put you down by calling you less than a woman or half a woman or something like that?
They're trying to make a point by like misgendering me and see how much it hurts, and like it doesn't. So I'm like,
but based on what? Based on your hair?
Oh, based on like my hair, yeah, and like not wearing makeup and stuff, and they'll be like,
we're not
funny.
Conforming.
Yeah, they'll just say, "Oh, funny for you to say this stuff because you kind of look like a man or whatever," which is hilarious because I don't.
Did you see when I got accused of appropriating non-binary culture and stealing from the people that I have oppressed?
I think I saw something about that.
Yeah, they said because my glasses and my haircut, I'm stealing from the people I've been oppressing, and I've appropriated non-binary culture. And I was like, pretty sure I've cut my hair like this many times since I was about 10 years old.
Wait, was this person serious? This is the hard time. Like, is this parody?
No, this was serious. This was serious, and I thought it was a joker, so I screenshotted it, put it on Twitter. I was having a good old time with it, proper belly laughing. Thought it was great. And then I got some screenshots a little while later, and some of the people that going after me were fuming that I was laughing at it because this was a friend of theirs.
Oh my God.
So they actually think that they're actually accusing me of appropriating their culture. But they say some interesting things as well. Like one of the things I've been accused of is only looking and dressing like this to trick people into thinking that I'm trans, and therefore people would think I'm pro-trans. But these are people that like knew me before they went after me, so they know that I've always had a funny face and I've always decorated it.
That's ridiculous. I didn't know you got it that much. Jesus Christ.
I forget about it. I laugh at it and then I forget about it because something else always comes along. It doesn't seem like a big deal anymore.
Always, yeah.
But you know the funniest one I always get? I always get told that I'm a lesbian. And it's always in this form. Lesbians like you always say blah, 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 blah. It's lesbians like you. And I'm like, whoa. I tell my partner, I'm like, hey, look at me. I'm a lesbian. According to these people, it's like, we just laugh at it.
Well, that's silly because it's like they're trying to use that to hurt you if they think you are.
And also I think some people genuinely think I am a lesbian just because I've got short hair, and I thought that might be quite offensive to lesbians.
Well, yeah, you're appropriating our culture.
And then somebody else told me the other day that I look like a gay man, and lots of people commented all the gay men, and I was like, oh yeah, all the gay men look like this.
Totally. They don't know what men look like. When I get that accusation, I'm like, literally just my hair is short. That's it. That's why it would never hurt, but that's why it's just so silly. They're reaching.
They're confused. They're confused by it because they say things to me like, I'm really surprised that a trans person like you would post things that are so anti-trans.
Right.
And I'm really surprised that you're assuming I'm trans because I've got short hair.
Yeah. And it doesn't help their case that it's all just based on stereotypes, and it really doesn't help. Yeah, fashion choices, makeup choices, because that's all it is. And I know it's just ridiculous. And the fact that they try to use it to like hurt me, they'll call me like sir and like Evan, and I'm like, I don't care. Like,
I mean, why would not a thing?
Yeah,
it don't upset me. I don't care. People can call me a man till the cows come home. I don't care.
Well, and that makes me have even less respect for the movement, because I'm like, you think that's supposed to hurt me and it doesn't, and so why are you, throwing a fit over it? Like, it's just ridiculous.
Well, at least they're not getting banned for calling you a man, right?
No,
So it's totally
I might
fair.
start reporting them for it. I might start reporting them for misgendering me.
Mistransing you.
Exactly. But I've got things to do, so I always forget.
Yeah.
I never report. I even had someone send me, like, somebody like stole my picture and they were tweeting at me and they said, "Oh, hey, I have something for you and Joanne, JK Rowling," and they put a bunch of little bombs. And so
Wow.
a lot of people reported them. I don't think anything happened.
See, I wish I was cool enough to say I never report, but I reported yesterday because
cool.
No, Essex was trending, and I'm from Essex, and I thought, this is brilliant. What's happening in Essex that's so good that it's trending? I clicked on it. The first thing I saw was pornography. I was so angry that you're misrepresenting where I come from that much. I reported it for pornography.
Wait, Essex, there's no sex in Essex?
No,
okay.
Not allowed. It's banned.
You guys go outside of the county or the Bower. I don't know what the delineation of Essex
you have to go to London if you want all that shit.
Okay.
Yeah, degenerate.
Or
London.
Kent.
Let's not bring up Kent. Let's keep Kent out of this. But the thing is that so to go back to what you're saying about free speech isn't freedom from consequences. I'm wary about that too, but it does have a truth in it. But we want some sort of procedure that's agreed upon about how those consequences are doled out. And with something like Twitter, where we're always responding to each other's speech, and the responses can be positive and negative. I don't want to take away negative responses to if I say something that can be construed as harmful or derogatory or very, very bad. I think that people should be free to construe my speech however they want, and then the social milieu kind of works out what's appropriate and inappropriate based on just people like voicing their opinions and stuff like that. So every once in a while, I'll trigger something that goes like in the wrong direction or goes into like people really misreading me, and maybe I feed into that by not being as specific as I could be because I like ambiguity. But I do appreciate that there's always we're always hashing out what is appropriate and inappropriate. I think that is like one way that culture is kind of refined and innovated and stuff.
You don't think it's a problem, though, when people say that it should be free from consequences? Because I always think what they mean is they get to decide. And
well, the question is who decides? What are these consequences? What is the procedure of these consequences? And do we agree on the procedure of what these consequences are? Or are you in control?
Apparently not. Because the people that say that are saying it as if the consequences don't already exist and the restrictions or the boundaries are not already there.
But in the context of social consequences, people disliking you, people denigrating or breaking down your reputation because you said something that's awful or offensive, and that can be. There's not a lot that I'm offended by, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I just don't think that's...
Same.
Me too.
Apart from the Essex pornography thing, that offended me.
Essex pornography, yeah, there's something about the mutilation of children that really gets my goat. Like that's something that I get offended by that stuff. So, but yeah, so.
No, there isn't a lot that offends me either. And yeah, I like taking kind of, in terms of free speech, like I like to think about it, taking the government out of it. I do like when it's more just like a social, like we're all kind of hashing it out together. Like, yeah, there are going to be some boundaries and things that are unacceptable, but it shouldn't be against the law to try and push against those boundaries. It should just be kind of like we work on it together kind of thing. I like that, a more sort of libertarian social approach,
I like the sound of that, but what I don't like the sound of is where we are now, like with this cancel culture thing. In effect, that is free speech as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah. I wouldn't make laws against it. I think that's when you just have to sort of make your case for why that's not a good thing to do. You just have to put that out there and make your case and say, no, we shouldn't just deperson people for their opinions.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And I think I have a particular bone to pick with the defamation thing, because I've been defamed, but I'm not technically allowed to say that I've been defamed, because that could count as defamation against them as well.
Ooh.
And
so you just have to have a lawyer do it for
even
you.
though it's true that I've been defamed, but I haven't been to a court of law and it's been established that this is defamation. So if I say so-and-so defamed me, they could take me to court for defamation. Yeah. I find that a bit prickly, that sort of thing. So I definitely think where the law's concerned with stuff like that, like we could do with looking at it. But you know what I don't like as well? It feels like we're trying to re-establish society all over again, and we've actually had laws and structures for a really long time that worked out well for us. So why do we need to go back and start from scratch again and re-establish everything?
Well, okay, so this is the slippery slope. Like how far back do we want to roll things? And it's kind of pertinent in the US, there is some dust up about a perceived rolling back of women's rights, specifically with abortion, and perhaps with interracial marriage, perhaps with gay marriage too. The court case itself is more about the states get to decide, not the judges, but that's lost in the fact that we're going back to the Stone Age, because women in certain states are being restricted with regard to abortion. So that is technically going back in time. I'm sure that there are things that you would like to roll back and things that you would not like to roll back. And that's where I'm trying to figure out, what should I be conservative about? What should I be liberal about? And how do I decide? What is the process of decision? And I think, again, it's boundaries for everybody. What?
Do you label it like that? Because in my head, what I'm starting to do is think about issues as they come up, and think about not whether or not this is a left or right side of thinking of thing, but what do I agree with, and also what's true, right? Because sometimes it's hard to find the truth. There's a lot of things we've all been lied about on the left, or been lied to about on the left. So there's truth seeking, and then deciding where you land on that truth, like we're talking about free speech, where your boundaries are, what you think the law should be. And then it's, when it comes to politics and voting, is which politicians most align with the truths that I agree with, or are talking about this subject in a way that I agree with the most. That's where I would land. I'm not really thinking, is this conservative, is this liberal, is this left anymore, even though those things are very relevant. The left and the right thing, I flipped on it, because I keep saying, oh, it's not really a thing anymore, but actually it is. It's becoming more relevant as we go along, because
polarity or
so
the left,
divided.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I keep flipping back and forth on that too. I try really hard to not put myself in a camp, liberal, or definitely not liberal anymore, not in Canada's terms at all. They're just way too far gone. And then I don't say I'm conservative either, and I don't think I am. But at a certain point, I have to admit, well, that is the party I'm probably going to support, because they're the only opposition. And it's not like I agree with them in other areas too. So I'm stuck between, should I just call myself a conservative because that's just kind of how it's going, or should I not, because I do. I think not. I think not. There's many.
Don't call yourself anything.
Exactly. I do look at the issues and then see where they fall. I just think in terms of ease of communication, fine, yeah, sure, I'm going to vote for conservatives. Maybe call me that if you like, right? I don't care if others call me that. But, once in a while I'll run into conservatives and I'm like, oh, no, wait, actually, that I'm not fully on the right either. And that's fine. But I do feel like there is kind of a new right for me, just because the left went so crazy, especially in Canada. Most of the people that I talk to that I can actually stand talking to are probably conservatives. In Canada anyway.
And the right has changed as well. Like you said, a new right. There are people here in the UK complaining about a certain conservative politicians and saying things like, so one of my friends said this, and I love her, I'm not trying to shit on her, but she said something along the lines of, I'm really worried about this politician's right-wing talking points. And I was like, well, this politician's a conservative. they're going to have right-wing talking points. Like, you can't. I think in the UK in particular, the Conservatives are more worried about what the left think of them than what the right think of them. And the right are like pretty annoyed as well, you know. And then there's people like us that are in the sort of in the middle, just sort of like always considered. Well, I've always considered myself to be left, and now I don't consider myself to be left. But I'm not going to say because of that I'm right.
Same.
But even people on the right, it seemed to be going more towards the left than I thought they would have as well on a lot of issues.
Yeah. Well, there's two. When I said conservative or liberal, I mean more in not in association or political association way, but in oriented towards
values.
Yeah, more principles, like oriented towards tradition, figuring out what traditions serve us and serve society and serve the individual, figuring out those, and then seeing where we can tweak the tradition without, exploding it. So I want like some sort of innovative progression, liberal and also liberal, and as much freedom as we can afford to grant one another. But I'm always wondering if we build a society that says to each his own, eventually that doesn't really work. We have to have some sort of common framework. There has to be a shared value that allows us to have a limited amount of freedom or a maximum amount of freedom with constraint, and figuring out what that is the question. So I don't know what the frickin' Conservatives Party is doing in America, really. I think it's all power, which is another conversation. But the progressives, when you both say that you aren't left, it seems more like you don't want to be associated with the people who've claimed that, but you still have the same kind of values of you want more freedom, less suppression somehow, and to what degree the government does that or not is probably an open topic.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel that I have gone more to the right, definitely not enough to be on it, but I have changed a lot over, like, I don't know, the last 5 years.
And what's one good topic where you've seen yourself develop or change in that direction?
I guess just it's hard to say. I guess just even socially, like I don't need to just blow up society and push every little special interest, you know what I mean? I'm okay with having like a shared like value system, right? I feel like that lives a bit more on the right, saying we have to have shared values, saying we have to have at least know that our traditions were there for a reason. Like I said, I haven't fully drifted over, but I am starting to kind of see the importance of that. And even just economically, even, it hasn't just been a social thing. Like I have kind of just changed my opinions on stuff and the role of government. And I think it helps that I'm in Alberta. I think because the rest, like our federal liberals just hate Alberta and like our oil and gas industry and stuff. So that's sort of pulled me a little more to the center, I suppose, because I'm just like, oh man, like economically that's changed for me too. So I'm still more on the left, I suppose, in certain ways, but it's nowadays it's so hard to place yourself on the spectrum, so that's why I'm at.
You just say that you're on the spectrum and call it good, get your points.
Yeah.
And then then you get oppression points for being on the
special
spectrum.
Rights, yeah.
No, I've definitely changed a lot of my thinking. I think what it is I'm evolving in my thinking. So being on the left, like I was like on the left when I was growing up as well. But when I moved into the art and music world, it felt like I encountered a lot more like radical, hardcore left-wing ideology. So I was around a lot of anarchists and a lot of just like punks and crusties and all sorts of different people, but they were really hardcore on the left thing, and I didn't always agree on everything, but I didn't always have a firm stance. And I think getting involved in this has made me really think more about where I stand on certain issues, and not even that I have to take a firm stance, but more that I know what I'm thinking about and I know what I'm talking about, rather than just going along with whatever the crowd are doing, because that's the left, and the left are always good and the right are always bad. It's not that simple sort of thinking anymore. And what this experience has done for me is humanize people on the right. because they were dehumanized to me. And I didn't even realize I was dehumanizing people. I just assumed that they were all malicious. They were all evil. They hate people like me. They want poor people dead. They want to get rid of us. They hate us, hate creatives and all that stuff. And I feel awful for thinking that way, because I'm over here now saying not to dehumanize me because I've got a different opinion to you. And there I was 10 years ago doing that to other people, you know. So it's been a big learning curve for me. And there's a lot of topics that I've had to really think about in different ways, because, like, for example, I used to be like, yeah, capitalism is really bad. We just need socialism now. And that came from being around the artists and musicians who, in their culture, in the culture I was on the grassroots scene, it's really frowned upon to want to earn money, to want to be financially stable and like actually be able to produce your art in a stable way. It's really frowned upon. You're like selling out, you're an arsehole, you're capitalist, you're this, you're that. So, and I
so you'd rather be, you're supposed to
wrong.
want to be a leech on society.
You're supposed to be a tortured, you're supposed to be a tortured artist who dies young because you can't afford to leech the system for too long, you know, that sort of thing. But it was like really stifling to be in an environment where we couldn't openly say we want to be financially stable. We want to earn more than minimum wage. In fact, if I do well off my art and we can live somewhere, that would be lovely. I felt like I couldn't say that without people turning their nose up at me and looking down on me for being like some sort of traitor, even though they've got a house, right? They've got a mortgage, I haven't, but you're going to turn your nose up at me because I want to make money on art. Well, why aren't you doing art for the love of it? Well, I do love it. I'd rather love art and do art as my passionate job than hate my life, do something else that tires me out so that I can't do my art. And there's nothing wrong with having other jobs, because I have got jobs over the last couple of years, and I will do it again if I have to. But I'd rather do the art, much rather, because this is where all of my energy goes. I don't know, but like, if you can do it, you should. And I think that's what capitalism is, isn't it? If you can do it, you should do it. If you can make money on it, do it. And I think that's quite a nice idea, that people can do that no matter where you're from, what background you're from, who you are. I don't know why we're trying to stifle that out, especially on the art scene, like the turning your nose up at people. There's one musician, I think you might know him, Frank Turner. I'll say his name. I don't know how he feels about all this, but he done really well for himself. And I remember back in the day, I was a fan like 12 years ago. I remember on YouTube, he got like sort of mini cancelled because he cut his hair and everybody called him a sellout. It's like, you cut your hair, you don't look like a hippie anymore. You cut your hair and put a suit on, you're a sellout. We're never coming to your shows again. So there's that sort of environment in music and art where, and there was another musician that got seats in his tour bus. It was just a van, but he put seats in it and he got called a sellout for that, and people sort of like cancelled him for that. So there's
Bob Dylan was playing into that too. Bob Dylan
ridiculous.
did that in the day. He would change.
Do you really think, what did he do?
Well, he went from folk to rock, and everybody called him a sellout. And then he went from rock to Christianity. Everybody called him a sellout. And then he just kind of kept on doing music.
Yeah,
now
Machine
he's
Gun
making
Kelly done that as well.
Whiskey.
Machine Gun Kelly.
Sorry, guys. One sec. I'll be right back.
Oh, she's left. She don't like this conversation. It's just us now, Benjamin.
She doesn't like folk
Don't
music.
compliment
Or
me.
maybe it's Bob Dylan. Oh, I got you alone.
Don't compliment me. You'll get in trouble. No, I was going to say Machine Gun Kelly done that, didn't he? He did all the rap stuff, all the rapping, whatever it was. And then now he does this pop punk revival sort of with pink hair and songs about being emo, even though he's about 40. So, and he got a lot of stick for selling out, changing genres because he was shit at the other one, when actually he's really good at both, even if people don't like him. So there's a lot of that going on. I find that all a bit stifling. I don't know if that happens on the right or not. I haven't been around people on the right enough to know if this is a conservative thing as well as a left-wing thing.
Sorry, you were just boring me.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Don't worry. Benjamin didn't compliment me, so
I didn't have a chance because she's so eloquent. I was just captivated.
So was I.
I had to put a catheter into my throat because you both make me drool so much. I knew that would happen, so it's kind of going
Oh my
down my
God.
face, like
Next
so.
time, just hold a
doing it.
ball under your chin.
We're all gonna get canceled by our side.
Everybody. Well, see, so to go back to dehumanizing and the left and the right,
Yes.
the importance of kind of pissing off your side is that you don't get so enmeshed in it. People kind of push you out of it because let's just say, once I started doing work on gender, I did a lot of interviews with women to map the territory, and also out of my curiosity of what feminism is, because I only saw one side of it and they were the enemy, or I was the enemy to them. So I was able to, investigate that. And then what happens is that people start following in you, and you start following people, and you get really enmeshed in, let's just say, GC culture, gender critical culture, which is an activist community. And what they do a lot of, to make the point, is share, let's say, photos of very unappealing or unconvincing middle-aged trans-identified males. And you see these pictures over and over again, and you see these stories about these awful things that certain people with mental issues or criminals are doing under the umbrella or with using the protections that are being granted to the trans rights movement. But if you just get enmeshed in that too much, you just start to develop a hatred of this class of people that you think of as AGP or men specifically. And there is ties to feminism in the GC movement. So every once in a while you'll see just kind of anger at men, which is most likely very deserved. It's very deserved. Like, I understand that a lot of women, and specifically feminists, have issues with men because they've been mistreated, and feminism is a way for them to empower themselves, but also it causes them to co-ruminate on men, where if a man crosses one little boundary, he's then the enemy. He has to be put out.
It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter. You've done all these interviews. You said one weird tweet and you're done. You're the bad guy.
Well, because, and I understand that it's perfectly acceptable, but it's...
Is it acceptable?
The people
you could say that you understand it, but acceptable is another topic.
I guess I'm not condoning snap judgments or harsh judgments based on small violations of invisible lines of propriety. Like, there's a proper way to conduct yourself, and this person violated it, and we need to get him back in line by yelling at him en masse, and then, or calling him a red flag and then pushing him out of the community, or getting people to...
I don't like this keeping each other in line thing, though. I don't like it. I don't think it should be a thing.
Well, it is a thing. It's a part of social pressure. And I think it might be a certain sort of personality that does that, and a certain sort of personality that doesn't do that. But when we combine our forces to make a statement or to reveal something problematic on the political sphere, we work together, and then the purity politics are put aside, but then they always kind of creep back in on a slow news day, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I guess one thing is that it's either a process of maturity or a personality trait to be able to engage with people and have a side, and yet not to succumb to certain aspects of tribalism or policing or homogeneity of opinion. Like, there's always a tension.
It's a bit both. Because I think I'm evolving on this issue as well. I think I joked before that I've perhaps created an echo chamber for myself, and how do I get out of it? Like, because 1 minute it's like, this is great, I found my people, and the next minute it's like, how do I get out of my people? Because this is an echo chamber, and I need to branch out of my people.
I've had those moments too.
Yeah, so there's an element of that, and that has not anything to do with me not liking anyone or anything like that. That's more to do with, this is going to sound bad, but I don't always only want to talk about men who are saying they're women, and I have other things to talk about as well as that, and I don't really care to police anybody else on the topic. Like, so if somebody wants to share hideous pictures of these men, these delusional men, all day long, they can do that. I'm not going to. It's not my thing. But also I don't think it's particularly effective. So, but yeah, when it comes to keeping people in line, I don't like that idea, because I put up my emailed my partner Dizza. He got an email saying basically you've got to choose between Birdie or the festival family, right? You've probably seen that. So I put that up, and about a week or so ago, I had somebody claiming to be GC. I say claiming, it was definitely a fake account, but I don't know whether it was a fake GC account or not, saying that it's right to hold people accountable if their partner has the wrong opinions, and basically said that if Dizza was to have an opinion that's out of step with GC opinions, so for example, if he thought that trans women were women, I should be rightly held accountable by GC people for that. And I should have to choose between him or them. So I will be expected to dump him or be held accountable by the mob, basically. And I don't know, I don't think this is something GC people as a whole agree with.
No.
But I do see that mindset in some personality types. I think it's a personality type thing. And I think it's maybe a maturity thing, because I've changed a lot of my thinking on how I approach people now as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily like the keeping people in line thing. I don't think, I mean, obviously on a societal scale it works, right? Because we have to have social boundaries and etiquette and what's acceptable, not acceptable, right? But when it comes to political or ideological thinking, or even thinking about the truth, like women are not men, I don't think people should be kept in line on how they think or how they speak or what their partners think or what their family members think or what their friends think. And it branches out that way, doesn't it? It's slippery slopes all the way around.
Yeah, I think there's a certain personality type that really wants to control people. And I really, really try hard not to do that. Like if of course I want people to agree with me, but I'll just make my case. I won't yell at them to do it, or like to say they're a bad person because they don't. I'll just put it out there and they can agree or not. And I really don't like it. I don't think it's a GC thing, but it does live on our side too. The kind of purity.
It lives everywhere.
It lives everywhere.
I think it's personality type.
It is. It's a certain personality type. And I just can't stand that. I can't stand when people are trying to like control each other. Even over pronoun use, even on our side, if somebody does choose to use certain pronouns for someone, I hate to see people jumping down their throats. I also, whatever, I'll do it. But like,
I had to think about that so hard when stuff like that was first happening, when I first noticed it. I had to think about where I stand on that. And a lot of these experiences have made me think really deeply about, well, how do I feel about this or that? And then I think about it in other situations as well. But the pronoun thing, if I'm for free speech, then I'm for people using preferred pronouns. Because if I say that they can't do that, am I as bad as the TRAs that say we must do that?
Yeah, I think like not as bad, because I still think we have like the reality side, I suppose, but in terms of just being controlling and yeah, I don't like that at all. Like, I think it's a nice thing on a personal level, if you have someone who, you know, a friend who or a family member who's transitioned, if you choose to do that, that's fine. I like that humans have that capacity to be accepting and to change things. But of course, what I hate is how on the society-wide scale we're being forced to do that and to change our speech, you know. But on the personal, I don't want to control what people's personal choices are, you know.
Yeah, same.
I'm not interested in that. So
yeah, but but there's always a line where if there aren't people, if the reasonable people who can approach things on a case-by-case basis and revel in the nuance and play around with ambiguity and can code switch going up, if they are always so loosey-goosey, the authoritarians, it seems like the authoritarians eventually get in charge from one side or the other. The authoritarians, let's just say within a small group, the authoritarians will kind of start to dictate how the group acts if the reasonable people don't, you know, kind of stand up to them or put them in their place. So there is not necessarily controlling, not necessarily controlling the authoritarians, but kind of pushing back on them, right?
But that's
like, don't tell me what to say.
As well, because a lot of people that are like that might be more inclined to be more sort of like agreeable and not necessarily going to be confrontational, because like we just said, I don't want to tell anyone what to do. Well, I'm not going to tell anyone that you can't tell somebody else that they can't use pronouns, but I don't think it's right that you're telling them that they have to do this or they can't do that or whatever. Because then if I go to somebody, well, you can't be saying that, now I'm restricting somebody, right?
I guess where I allow myself to be a little bit more telling people what to do is in telling them not to tell people what to do.
I do it. No, I'm different. I tell people not to tell me what to do.
That's true. Yeah.
So when it's me, but with other people, that's up to them to tell you that they don't want you to do this.
I guess we have to encourage other people to have the same kind of boundaries and to have the same kind of ability to just say no.
Yeah.
Then it's not on you. You just empower them to be able to resist other people telling them.
But if they see you doing that, if they see you saying, no, you can't talk to me that way, it puts it in their heads that they can say that if somebody does it to them, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the best way to fight against that.
Okay, without becoming
what we're trying to fight against.
Yeah. So another example, same kind of basic concept. If there's a group in our society, let's just say we all live on an island and there's about 500 of us, and a group of 20 who are very, very radical decide that 2 + 2 actually equals 5. And they start to use tactics to make everybody else say 2 + 2 = 5. Eventually they get 30%, 40%, 50% of people who are saying 2 + 2 = 5. You're over there, you're like, well, I don't want to tell them what to say or what not to say, but 2 + 2 does not equal 5. And if we all believe 2 + 2 = 5, eventually the kids, especially, or the next generation, are going to be so confused. They're going to be so confused.
Here's my thing. It's not that I'm opposed to telling them that 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5. I'm opposed to making them believe it. They don't have to believe that. But if we're on an island and there's 500 of us and 50% of them have now decided 2 + 2 = 5, what are they going to do about it, about the people like us that don't believe that? Are they coming for us? Because if they're coming for us, it's a war, right?
Okay. Well,
if they're living peacefully on the other side of the island, believing in their 2 + 2 = 5, then I was going to say, what's the problem? But there is a problem, isn't there? Because it doesn't equal 5.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't, and then also it will
you
have.
Didn't tell me this was going to be this hard.
To what degree it will have social results, negative social results, maybe in engineering or something like that, where people get killed because they keep on believing that 2 + 2 = 5. Yes. Or with regard to pronouns, that 12-year-olds then decide to change their pronouns and then are fast-tracked onto life-altering addiction to the medical industry. So pronouns do have downstream effects. And there is a way of policing language in order to keep reality from catching up to people in the negative way. And where that line is, or that boundary is another.
But with pronouns, we're being told we have to go along with it. With the people on the island that believe in 2 + 2 = 5, are they telling us we have to go along with that?
Well, when it's 2 + 2 = 5, if they really believe that, then you're speaking.
To go along with it, then we're in trouble, aren't we? We're in a fight.
Well, even if they don't force you to do that, the fact that they think that, even if it doesn't result in a war, it will result into downstream effects, because 2 + 2 = 5 will have certain results when they try to sell us their bananas or when they try to build a building, right? So then you have to do a conversion. I guess this is my pronoun thing. If the person is worth me doing the extra loop of changing their pronoun, we have some established rapport or I respect them, then I'll do that. But that is actually extra work for me to translate 2 + 2 = 5 in order for us to get along, right? And
so I don't know what to do about these other people on the island. I mean, we can't. They're stressing me out, to be honest.
They are.
There we go.
All we can do is keep making our case. We have to make our case really well.
I tell you what I'd do. I would make some paper stickers and I'd stick them on all the trees and all the coconuts with 2 + 2 = 4 written on it, and my website. But there's no way to get on the website because we're on an island.
Yeah, on an island.
So I just put it there anyway.
I would just write some articles in the sand, some tweets. I would
just work out some mathematical proofs.
Yeah. Well, that's what you have to do. I mean, you can't force them by force. So you just have to keep saying the truth, and you just have to hope that you convert more of their side. And I think that's the only way to do it.
Are any of you guys good at maths?
Not really.
I can
No,
do 2 plus
Benjamin?
2.
Mildly.
Excellent. Right, so you can do all the maths equations and I'll make art out of them. Okay, and this is how we're going to educate the rest of the island.
Yeah, I'll write it in the sand.
We'll make some propaganda with 2 plus 2 equals 4 on it.
Propaganda.
Yeah, we spoke about that before, my art getting called propaganda.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, my writing's been called that too.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, it is, isn't it, technically? Two things I don't worry about. Am I a grifter or am I making propaganda? Everybody's a grifter and everybody's making propaganda.
I thought about the grifter thing.
Right?
I was thinking about the grifter thing when I was in the gym today, because I was like, anyone can call me a grifter and I can call them a grifter, right? Because grifter doesn't always have to be for like financial gain. It can be for social status and things like that, right? I said status like an American because I've been listening to too many American podcasts.
Wait, how do you guys say it?
Status.
Data?
Status. But I said status because I was trying to be American.
Well, that's the right way.
You're appropriating our culture.
No, it's not.
Now.
No,
Colonial.
you're appropriating our culture. Fucking traitors.
What? You're the one with the haircut. Oh, wait, you're both.
We're NBs.
NBs.
I love the fact... Sorry, I can say I love the fact that when people are watching this, they won't be able to tell who's Birdie, who's Eva, and who's Benjamin, because we all look the same.
Especially on their phone screen.
Yep. I've got a moustache too, so we're all good.
Oh, okay. Good.
Well, I forgot to shave mine. We're so similar.
Benjamin and the lesbian trans man. Wait, Birdie's a lesbian, Eva's a trans man. I don't know what I am. I guess I'm a male feminist.
Yeah, you're a male feminist, definitely.
The worst kind.
Yeah, the worst kind.
Not the fun kind. The complimenting kind.
Yeah.
Well, again, it goes back to boundaries. I mean, I understand why people were angry at me because I was taking the context of man lowering the boundaries of young women in order to get close to them. It didn't look good. It looked terrible. And I doubled down. I kept on doubling down.
When I saw it on my phone, this is what I did, right? I was having my cup of tea before I go to the gym and I went... and then I went, and then I saw your other comment and I went, fuck's sake. And then I saw your picture and I went, dude, come and have a look at what Benjamin Boyce has done now. He's really got himself in the shit. He stuck his foot in it as well. Look. And then I had to explain who you are and everything. And I had to explain the situation. And then I showed him the picture and then he had to go to work. So he wasn't too bothered. He was just like, he just went, oh, well, he's going to get in trouble, isn't he? And I went, yeah, it's really bad. I was like, I better go to the gym and then I'll catch up on this afterwards.
Yeah.
That was about my reaction too. I was like, yeah, this looks pretty bad.
Yeah, looks bad.
Yeah, it did look bad.
What do you guys think about it?
I'll talk to him later.
Well, what's the appropriate way for men to be nice? Or have you guys... did you have to learn when men are being nice for ulterior motives as opposed to just being generous?
You can kind of feel it.
Okay, well, how did you learn that then?
I think as a kid, you're less aware because you're like more naive, aren't you? This is what the status was about, wasn't it? Teenagers and children not recognizing the body language, I suppose, and the way it's coming across. But there's a certain point, and I don't know how you learn it. You just do. You get a feeling, and I hate to say that, but you do. A lot of it is going on feelings. Sometimes you get it wrong. I think that learning from getting it wrong as well.
Yeah, that's true. And you should trust your gut instinct too. Sometimes you feel it for a reason. You've had experience. So I haven't had to face too much of that, but yeah, you do learn. I used to work a customer service job, and you'd know when they were trying to be creepy and when they were just nice. So
So part of the game that I was playing there was to push back because Sinead made a statement that every single man who complimented her maturity ended up being a creep. And I was pushing against a certain group dynamic that thinks men, a very small percentage of men, are bad, and that any man who basically men's default status in our eyes is that they're a loaded gun, and we always treat men like a loaded gun. And I understand evolutionary.
He's a man.
I understand why certain women would think that.
I know
men.
I'm taking the piss, but I do understand it as well. Like I actually did it for a little while as well when the Me Too thing first happened.
Okay.
I was like, he's a man. Why is he talking about this? He's not allowed to talk about this. This is women's oppression. And I get it, because when you're in that and you start sort of realizing, okay, these things that happen, they're not just like they're not particularly uncommon, but I also think that we perceive them to be more common than they are in some cases. Like, for example, I'm going to get shit for saying this. When the Sarah Everard thing happened last year with the police officer that tricked her and then murdered her when she was out during lockdowns, there was a lot of fear-mongering in the media about how this could just happen to you, and this is really common, and this just happens to women. This is what happens to women. This is how women live. And I got a bit concerned because the year before that, I kind of fell for the fear-mongering when in the newspapers, on the front page of the newspapers, the police put out a bulletin for female runners shouldn't run on their own, including during the daytime, because of the rapists, basically. So when you have all that messaging coming in across social media and in the news and stuff like that, and then all your friends are talking about it, it does create a level of fear. And then I had to really step back and assess whether my level of fear was appropriate or not. And that happened around COVID as well a little bit. I mean, obviously it is a terrible virus, but there was a lot of extra fear-mongering done by the media on top of it, and a lot of manipulative advertising and language used to really stress people out. I feel like that is being done to women in the name of feminism. Like, we're being stressed out all the time by the shit that women get put through. And it's not a lie that women get put through shit, but we need to assess how much of a danger is this to me right now in this moment. How much do I have to be scared of every man that I walk past in the street or every man that I interact with? How much do I have to dislike every man in order to keep my guard up? You know, there's a bit of that going on. And when I first got into it, first of all, I was fucking angry, especially with the Me Too thing. I was angry at how women have been treated, how men... Do you know what got me angry about the Me Too thing? I didn't do a Me Too story. I didn't get into that part of it, but I did see the point of it when it first started with the Harvey Weinstein thing. Yeah. So I understood it. And then to hear, you know, people saying that they've had experiences and all of this, I was like, okay, this is a conversation that we could do with having. So I agreed with that side of it. But the shit I got from men on Facebook was out of this world, and that really turned me on them.
What do you mean? What kind of shit did you get?
I can't remember, but it was a lot of just... It's similar to what TRAs do now. It was just similar to kind of rhetoric. You're just... they say you're just a bigot now. They said you're just a man hater then. And that what it did is it turned me on them. So, and that brings me back actually full circle to what you're saying about the posting the pictures of the delusional men in the dresses. That turns you on them because now you don't like them at all, right? So I was very angry with men. I didn't understand why they're not getting it. Why do they not understand why we're scared of them and all this stuff? Yeah. And then I had to have a think about how my level of fear, how appropriate is it? My level of anger towards men in general, how appropriate is that? Because I've got a lot of men in my life that are lovely. Why would I be angry at them? And then there was arguments against that, you know, like I used to say things like, look, just because your husband's lovely, it doesn't mean all the men are lovely, which is true. But at the same time, I've just had to do a lot of growing and thinking about it. And that's why I make the he's a man joke, because it's not because I actually think that all feminists are doing that. I do understand where it comes from. But at the same time, you've got to step back and think about how are we going to navigate this going forwards in an actual progressive way, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to do that if you're just shouting at each other. So if women don't like men and men don't like women, because there's a lot of resentment at the moment about the way feminism's gone. So men are having a go at women, women are having a go at men. How do we get through it? The only way we're going to get through it is to let your guard down a little bit and have a conversation and actually try and understand what the other person's saying. That has helped me a lot. I've listened to a lot of people that I never in a million years thought I would listen to, like people like Jordan Peterson and
that's the first thing we ever talked
Benjamin
about.
Boyd. And do you know what? It changed my perspective. And I really think Jordan Peterson's a really good voice for young men as well, because actually he's right that a lot of young men in particular are missing out on a decent role model in their life. Even if their dad's around, he might not be a decent one, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about not demonizing men and not demonizing masculinity, not demonizing women, not demonizing femininity, not demonizing effeminate men, not demonizing masculine women. And I think instead what we've done is we've all picked a side on it, and we're all going at each other on all of these levels. And I don't think it helps. That's why I go, he's a man. But on the other side, she's a woman. She's a woman. Get her. She's a woman.
It's a really fine line to walk. I think about that a lot myself, because a lot of what I do in my tweets and my writing, my activism, the reason I'm against gender ideology is, you know, in a big part because of women's safety, like women's safety in prisons and rape shelters and stuff, because like physical safety. But at the same time, I don't want to just harp on the fact that women are constantly in danger and be scared and don't walk alone. Like,
at what point did that become we are not capable of looking after ourselves and walking down the street by ourselves? At what point does that become we're not autonomous? At what point does that become, you know, we are basically children? We've got to have this conversation.
You have to have both thoughts in your head at the same time. No, we're not constantly in danger. We're not that vulnerable. But at the same time, the reason we need to retain our spaces is because, we are. In certain situations, we are. And I think people have a hard time holding both ideas in their heads, you know. I get really upset at the men who come to my comment and they're like, well, why do you want your spaces? Because I thought feminism was all about you're all empowered and you're just as strong as men. And I'm like, well, no, there's a balance there, right? And people don't want to entertain both ideas. It's either all one or the other. And very frustrating.
The way that I formulated my incendiary tweets was to maximize ambiguity and there was a little bit of trolling there. Not going to say that. I know. But one thing that I wrote, which is very incendiary if you read it in one way, and a different point or a conversation started if you read it another way, is that boundaries can be lowered without being violated. We can start to trust each other. We can enjoy our differences, and we can train men to flirt properly, and we can train women to flirt properly too. And I was just thinking the other day, you know, because it was a big dust up, which is always kind of stressful for me, but I kind of hermeneutically seal myself from it. But I was just thinking about the rising amount of mental health problems, the hyperconnectivity and hyper-alienation of the young people right now, the increasing porn use, like off the charts, and the inability for them to even just get along and to have a conversation. And
because they can't communicate.
They can't communicate. So if we only bring up in men's spaces and women's spaces the times that men have miscommunicated or have been manipulated, and the way that women are manipulative too, if we only focus on that, we're not facilitating giving good tools or figuring out how to give the younger generation a sense of this is not about hooking up. And that's the thing. Like when I was talking about compliments, once you extract me wanting anything from the person that I'm complimenting, I'm just sharing, and I'm not lowering boundaries to violate them. I'm lowering boundaries to have a conversation, to go back and forth, and then to model a good friendship, a good relationship. That's one way of breaking down the silos that activism and media environment create for us.
Yeah. In general human interactions, I think compliments came about as a way to break the ice a little bit with another person and get them to talk to you. And they say that, don't they? If you're arguing with someone online, you should agree with them on something, and that lowers their boundaries a little bit. And then they start to have an actual conversation with you. They're not going to be so guarded. And I think with a lot of people nowadays, they're growing up on the internet, and the internet is divided in this way. So when they get together in person, which I'll be honest, I haven't seen any teenagers hanging out in gangs or anything lately, apart from one down the beach. There was like a group of teenagers on the beach recently, and they were all drinking and they were all swimming in the sea and stuff. And I said to dudes, look, isn't that lovely? They're not on the internet. They're outside drinking and hanging out with each other. That was lovely. And I felt like such an old lady saying that. Look at these young teenagers having a nice time.
I had that experience the other day. I was at the river and there was all these kids jumping from the bridge into the water, like teenagers. And first I'm like, teenagers. And I'm like, well, that's good. It's good.
Yeah,
having
really
fun,
good, because and it gives me a little bit of faith, because I worry that they're all becoming, or they're all learning to interact in this fucking dysfunctional way of being so guarded with each other and getting ready for a war with each other all the time, and not ever letting that boundary down just a little bit to have an easier conversation, or to find out about somebody, or to help them to lower their boundary a little bit so that the conversation can actually go somewhere.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've talked a lot about boundaries, but at the same time, you're right. If you have them up constantly, you're guarded constantly. And so that's why I liked your tweet, Benjamin, not so much in the context of underneath talking about teenagers, but I think that's why it set people off, but it just on its own, about it's not always bad to like lower a boundary a little bit without crossing it. You kind of need that to have a conversation and to understand each other. So
yeah, and I liked your essay as well. Like what I understood of it, because I'm not like very academic, and it was a bit wordy.
No, I love words.
No, that's a good thing.
I use too many.
I'm learning from it.
Yeah, it was a good essay. It was a good essay. I think if people change their minds a little bit, they were like, okay, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I should write a wordy essay every time I'm in trouble. That might help.
Definitely. Do you have a essay platform somewhere, Birdie? Famous artist, Birdie Rose? Just Twitter and Instagram?
And my website. I could put a wordy essay on my website, I suppose.
You should do that.
Yeah, I might do.
I'll start a Substack maybe next year. For now, I'm just writing things in other places.
Okay. You should always have. It's nice to just have an open tab. So whenever I have a thought, I just start crafting. And then
I just tweet. If I have a thought, I just tweet it. So
that's kind of my. There's something about being able to stretch your legs a little bit and just play with words a little bit more on a bigger field than a tweet that helps me.
Yeah, actually. I have to do that. I've become too like small thoughts.
Microblogging.
I never do threads, and I just do a tweet. That's it. Which is funny.
I imagine it's a bit like exercising. I don't know where I'm going with that. I imagine like what I've done with my exercises, I've learned more and more things, and now I can do more, physically can do more. I think if you expand your vocabulary, you can do more with language, right? You have more tools. You can create more thoughts.
Yeah. I can't get over how powerful like language and writing is, and being able to communicate effectively. It's crazy.
It's really powerful, and I'm not trying to go all worries me, but I really learned the importance of language when I got my hearing aid, and I was like, shit, I've been communicating without hearing half of this stuff all the time, and I used to rely on sign language when I was little. That was like my first language, and I wondered if the sign language is why I think in pictures a lot, because I used picture cards to learn the sign language. And then I learned to speak properly later on because I had to have an operation to help me speak. And so I realized the importance of language then, and I feel like I'm not particularly academic. So I never thought I was good at writing until I got on Twitter and people thought I was good at writing. But what I enjoy is the restriction. I enjoy playing within the restriction and having to find different ways of saying what I want to say, but say it in a simple, short way. Because I don't know all the big words anyway, so I just try and simplify. Yeah.
You don't have to be academic. Really, you just have to be able to think clearly and string a sentence together, and then you'll get.
I don't know how I wormed me being deaf into that, but there was a thought process somewhere about words and how I think of them and how they come together for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you use it to your benefit, definitely.
I think I do.
Resonates with people, and yeah, you don't have to use big words at all. In fact, you shouldn't. That's why it resonates.
I think so. I think if you can say it in a way that simple people like me can understand, then you win.
You're not simple. Right? You're very far from simple.
I've got balls on my shirt. Look, it looks like a little hand holding balls.
Oh yeah, it does. Our little like.
I just noticed it.
I thought it was 2 olives on a fist.
I should have made them green.
I know what picture that is, right? It's got the ribbon around it.
Is that?
Yeah.
No, thank you. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good shirt, that. Good advertising. You can get them on my shop. They're only £1 million each.
Yeah. Okay. £1 million. So purchase some of the famous artist Birdie Rose's merch
and stickers. Stickers, right?
Do you have stickers?
Yep, £1,000,000 each.
Can you show me a sticker? I don't know what a pound is.
Oh,
That's like
I
a
don't know.
centimeter, right?
Well, yeah, I
out.
think it's a millimeter. There's stickers on here. There's
Women
the
don't have
women don't have
willies.
willies. Female to the bone. That one's not mine. That's Posey Parker's.
Yeah,
That's a Magdalene dinosaur.
Wow.
Hates Peach. That one's come off because that's where I hold my iPad the most.
That's a good one. I like that one.
I like the Hates Peach one. I thought it was good. And it
World
made me
peace.
laugh because people are claiming that my stickers are hate speech, and some of the locals kicked off and said that they're going to get them fingerprinted and try and get me prosecuted for the stickers.
Oh
and so I made the hate speech stickers because I thought that was really funny.
It's brilliant. I love it. We have that problem in Canada too. Our stickers are considered hate speech. CBC did a whole article about it, about all the hateful stickers that say like no men in women's prisons and things like that.
Street
Yeah,
harassment.
proper hateful.
Yeah.
So
I love your art. I love your stickers.
Thank
I love
you.
what you do. It's great.
Thanks. I like my art too. I think it's fun.
Well,
Eva,
you're such a sellout, but I'm glad you.
Yeah, I
glad
know.
you like it.
I'm
We've heard
proper
you say that.
sellout. That's why I'm not on the art scene anymore.
Yeah,
You're
making
just
too much
artist.
money.
Eva,
Making
how
all
can
that
people? So you don't have a
pounds.
Substack, but your writing is appearing here and there and everywhere. So you're basically still just a Twitter user at this point for people to.
Yeah, mostly.
Check out your
I'm
content.
writing for Gender Dissent. Actually, after I talked to you the first time, they saw the interview and reached out to me, and that's why I'm writing there. I've got 3 pieces there. I was looking at like gender ideology in Canadian schools and different places, so that's great. I also did a piece for Redux recently. They're amazing. I
They are
love.
good.
They're so good. They're
Could
breaking
you
a story
plug
every day.
Redux? They're kind of new on the scene, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
What
Redux.
are they
So like
about?
they're just like a feminist focused news, mostly on gender, but also just women's issues, women's rights. They've broken so many stories about like men and women's prisons in the States, and even just lots of things in Canada too. Issues of like men and women's rape shelters or abuse in houses, things like that. They're so yeah, I wrote just like an essay for them about like the history of the male lesbian. So that was kind of fun. And they're great. So it's Redux with 2 X's. XX. Anna Slats, that's who I talked to. So she's fantastic.
And it's great.
Do you have links to your writing on Twitter so I can read it? Because I didn't even know you were writing stuff. I just thought of you as my Twitter mate.
Yeah, we just well, yeah, if you go to my profile, I have pinned my gender dissent stuff, because those are like my investigative.
See, look, I put my thumb up this time so no one
Yeah.
can mistake it.
Yeah, and I did recently send something to Colin Wright as well, about like my childhood.
Nice.
It has like some baby photos, so he'll probably post that soon. I hope. No pressure, Colin.
Your childhood in what respect? Just your immigration process? Or?
No, just like being super gender nonconforming, and mostly the whole point was that I would have been like transitioned today as a kid. That
I
was
think I
kind of
would have as well.
easy. I went through like the different like diagnostic criteria, and I was like, I would have hit all of this, and it's all stereotypical. And it's just a short piece, but I sort of looked at that, and I have dug up some like childhood photos where I'm like looking pretty boyish and stuff. So yeah,
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, if you want to check out my stuff, that'd be great. I know we've chatted a little bit, but we didn't really share those things. So yeah.
But the links will be down in the description for the viewers to check out. And,
See, look, arrow this time. You can't mistake what I'm doing.
Going down.
Down in the...
Misconstruing. But thank you both for coming on my show and to hang out with me, even though I'm at peak problematization right now and your side of things. But you guys had the bravery and the countenances to confront me one-on-one. So thank you so much.
We didn't really confront you at all, did we?
No, we just kind of agreed and we just complimented you. It's pretty bad.
Okay.
Fuck, now we're the complimenters.
That's worse than the Hitler
What are we
sign.
going to do about it? I'm going to go on Twitter and say I was forced to do this interview against
No,
my
yeah,
will.
yeah. I lowered your boundaries against your will.
complimented me into it.
Yeah, I did. I strung you along. Here you are. You guys say goodbye to the people at home. I will end the recording.
Goodbye, people at home.
See you later.
There we go.
See you on Twitter.
Cool. And there. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Everything that I hoped for.